I used to think I was too old to be surprised by another woman's beauty. But that changed one gentle afternoon in California. I had taken my mother to a small spa in a quiet beachside town, a place known for its special treatments for aging skin. We were sitting in the waiting area when the door opened, and a woman walked in. She wore a soft beige linen dress, her silver hair was cut neatly short, and her skin, smooth, glowing, untouched by age spots, was simply radiant. She moved with the kind of quiet elegance you don't see every day. It wasn't her clothes or her walk that caught my attention. It was her face, so calm, so clear, and so youthful it made you pause. I couldn't take my eyes off her. My mother noticed too. As the woman passed by us, she gave the gentlest smile. It wasn't showy, it was the kind of smile someone gives when they've lived through enough to not need anyone's approval. I whispered to my mother, "How old do you think she is?" She chuckled softly. "Maybe early 60s, but there's something about her, something lighter." We were both wrong. Her name was Evelyn. And she was 80 years old. I almost didn't believe it. Even the spa staff, who had worked there for over a decade, were surprised to see her again. "Mrs. Evelyn is one of our regulars," one of them told me quietly. "But she never uses any anti-aging products. She doesn't even wear moisturizer." That stopped me. In a world where every woman is chasing the next miracle cream, the next skin treatment, the next promise to turn back time, here was a woman who used none of it. And yet, she looked like she had found a secret no one else had. When her session ended, I gathered the courage to approach her. "Excuse me," I said gently. "I hope I'm not intruding, but you look absolutely beautiful. Do you have a secret?" Evelyn laughed softly. Not a loud laugh, but one that felt like music in the quiet afternoon light. She looked at me kindly and tilted her head. "A secret? I suppose I do, but it's not in any jar or bottle." She invited me to sit with her near a window bench, where the late sunlight spilled gently across the wooden floor. She began to speak, not like someone giving advice, but like someone unwrapping little memories from her heart. I didn't rush her. I just listened. Her voice was calm, like she was placing each word down with care. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was just someone who had lived long enough to know what truly mattered, to her skin, to her health, and to her soul. "There are 3 things I never let go of," she said, gazing softly out the window. "First, the morning sun. I begin each day walking slowly outside, letting sunlight wake my skin instead of the blue light from a phone screen. Second is water, not just drinking more, but drinking well. And third," she paused, "is gratitude. Your skin hears what your heart feels, more than you think." I sat silently, not wanting to miss a single word. I thought of my mother, sitting on the other side of the room. She used to be the kind of woman who wouldn't leave the house without a bold red lipstick, who never skipped her night cream. But she, too, had something Evelyn had, this gentle glow in her eyes, like someone who looked in the mirror and whispered, "You're still here. You're still beautiful." If you've ever met a woman like that, someone who leaves a lasting impression not because of what she wears, but because of the peace she carries, then maybe you'll understand how I felt that day. She needed no makeup, no procedures, just a way of living that made every day feel gentle, light, and full of kindness. Evelyn looked at me for a moment and said, "You know, so many women try to fight time. But really, we just need to walk with it, beautifully." I still remember her eyes that day, not hurried, not clinging to youth. She was simply present. And somehow, that said more than anything else ever could. The truth is, everything changes with the smallest daily choices. How we sip a glass of water. How we breathe. How we smile at our reflection. And when those little things are done with sincerity, they become the truest kind of beauty routine, one that no spa or serum can replace. Today, I want to share with you 6 small yet powerful habits, simple things that all the youthful women I've met seem to have in common. They don't come from expensive stores or glossy ads, but from people who have truly lived, and lived well. And I believe, you can begin anytime. Whether you're 60, 70, or 80, today can still be the first day of your most beautiful chapter. The first habit Evelyn shared with me didn't come wrapped in mystery. It was so simple that I almost dismissed it, until I heard her explain it in her own way. I touch my skin, she said quietly, with kindness. Not just once a day, but throughout the day. I wash my face gently. I pat it dry with care. I never pull or scrub. I treat it the way I would treat a small child, tenderly. That struck me. How often had I rubbed my skin in frustration, hoping to erase wrinkles or dark spots, as if they were mistakes instead of stories. Evelyn didn't see aging as something to fight. She saw it as something to hold with grace. She told me that every night before bed, she takes a warm cloth, not too hot, and gently presses it against her face for a minute or two. Not to clean it, she said, but to comfort it. Like saying, you did well today. And that's how she saw her skin, not as an enemy to conquer but as a dear companion who had been with her through every season of life. There's something powerful in that, isn't there? The way we speak to ourselves. The way we care, or forget to care. She didn't need fancy creams. She simply replaced harsh habits with soft rituals. And maybe that was enough. Evelyn leaned in a little, like she was about to share a secret. You know, she said, my friends used to tease me. They'd say I wasn't doing enough to stay young. But I was doing what mattered. I was staying gentle. Her second habit was even simpler, but no less profound. I drink warm water in the morning, she said. Just 1 cup. Not cold. Not flavored. Just warm. I started doing that after I visited Japan when I was in my 40s. I saw women there with the clearest skin I'd ever seen, and they all did that, first thing after waking up. I smiled, thinking how often we chase expensive wellness routines when the best ones are already around us, quiet and waiting. It wakes up the body, she explained. It helps the skin, but more than that, it teaches you to start your day gently. Not rushing into coffee or chaos. Just warmth. She paused for a moment, then added, and when I hold that cup, I always take a breath and say, thank you. Just for being alive another day. That stayed with me. Because it wasn't just about hydration. It was about intention. About beginning each day in peace, not pressure. About choosing softness in a world that often feels too fast, too loud, too harsh. I looked at Evelyn and wondered how many years she had lived that way. How many mornings she had whispered, thank you, before the sun had even risen. She then told me about the third habit, which was perhaps the one that surprised me most. I never eat when I'm upset, she said, smiling as if reading my mind. Even if it's dinner time. Even if the food smells good. I raised an eyebrow. It changes the way your body holds it, she said. Anger tightens the belly. Sadness slows digestion. But when I'm calm, even if it's just after a few deep breaths, the food becomes nourishment, not burden. That felt both old-fashioned and revolutionary at once. How many times had I eaten while scrolling my phone, or rushed through lunch while thinking about everything else? I never once asked if my body was ready to receive what I was giving it. Evelyn wasn't trying to be perfect. She wasn't trying to follow trends. She was simply listening, to herself, to her body, to the rhythm of life that often gets drowned out. She glanced at the window again, where the sun had started to dip a little lower, casting long golden rays across the sidewalk. Most people think beauty fades with time, she said. But I've learned something else. True beauty shows itself when we slow down. When we treat our days, and our bodies, with care. I nodded, not just out of agreement, but because something deep in me recognized that truth. We don't need to reverse time. We need to befriend it. That afternoon, I didn't learn any miraculous tricks. I didn't leave with a list of miracle foods or secret oils. But I left with something better, an invitation to be gentler, more mindful, more loving, especially toward the parts of ourselves we've been told to fix. If you're listening to this and thinking, but I've already let myself go, or, it's too late for me to change, I want to pause here for a moment and say, no, it's not. Not even close. You deserve softness. You deserve care. And most of all, you deserve to feel beautiful in your own skin, exactly as you are. Because sometimes, all it takes is a warm cloth at night. A cup of water in the morning. A single breath before a meal. Small things, but when done with love, they become the rituals that carry us home to ourselves. I asked Evelyn if there was a fourth habit, something else she did to keep her skin so youthful, her spirit so alive. She smiled at me gently and nodded. I stopped comparing myself to who I used to be, she said. At first, I wasn't sure what she meant. But she continued, her voice even softer this time, as if she were confessing something most women her age never say out loud. There was a time I would look in the mirror and miss the girl I used to be. The one with smooth skin, a smaller waist, brighter eyes. But one day, I realized I was grieving a version of myself that no longer needed to exist. I wasn't her anymore. I had become someone else, someone wiser, someone softer. And that deserved love, too. She looked down at her hands for a moment, then back up. So I made a promise. That every time I saw my reflection, I'd say something kind. Even if it was just, you're still here. I'm proud of you. There was something in her words that struck a chord deep inside me. How often had I stood before my own mirror and only noticed what was fading, not what was still shining? We are taught, from such a young age, to measure ourselves in terms of beauty, in how we compare to others, or even worse, to our younger selves. But no one ever teaches us how to fall in love with the woman we are becoming. Evelyn's fifth habit wasn't physical either. It had to do with silence. Every afternoon, she said, I sit by myself. No phone. No music. Just me, the window, and the sound of the world outside. Sometimes I close my eyes. Sometimes I write a few thoughts. But mostly, I just let myself be. She called it her sacred pause. It wasn't meditation, exactly. And it wasn't religious. It was simply a moment to remember that she existed outside of roles, outside of being a mother, a friend, a customer, a neighbor. In those quiet minutes, she said, I return to myself. And somehow, when I do that, I always feel lighter. Softer. Like my face smooths itself out, without any cream at all. I loved that. The idea that stillness could be its own kind of skincare. That peace could be the most powerful anti-aging serum of all. There's a different kind of beauty that comes from a woman who is no longer at war with herself. It's not loud. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply is. And people feel it when she walks into a room, even if they don't know why. Evelyn's final habit surprised me. Because it wasn't about the face, or the body, or even the mind. I take care of how I speak, she said. I tilted my head. Not just to others, she explained, but to myself. I try not to gossip. I don't say harsh things about people. And if I catch myself being cruel in my thoughts, I pause. I start over. I choose better words. She believed that words, especially the ones we say in silence, leave traces on the skin. That bitterness shows up in furrowed brows and hard jaws. That gentleness, over time, relaxes even the deepest lines. I don't always get it right, she admitted. But I try. And trying, with love, is enough. I thought about how often I'd criticized myself without even realizing it. About how quickly I judged my own reflection, my own choices, my own past. Evelyn wasn't telling me to become perfect. She was inviting me to become kind. She took a sip of her tea, then looked out the window one more time. The sun was low now, painting everything in a soft gold. I could see the reflection of her face in the glass, calm, kind, and absolutely beautiful. Not because of what she had done to her skin, but because of how she had learned to live inside it. We sat there for a little while longer, Evelyn and I, in the quiet golden hush of the late afternoon. Time didn't feel like it was rushing us. It just held us gently, like the way she had held her own face every evening, like the way she had learned to hold her memories, with care, with softness, with gratitude. There was one thing I hadn't asked her yet, though it had been on my mind since the beginning. "Evelyn," I said softly, "do you ever wish you had done more to stay young?" She chuckled, just once, and shook her head, not with regret, but with something much kinder. "No," she replied, "because youth was never the point. Feeling alive was." That sentence stayed with me. It followed me all the way home. It echoed the next morning when I washed my face and chose to pat it dry instead of rub. It whispered to me when I drank my water slowly, without checking my phone. It changed something, not just on my skin, but in my heart. I realized I had spent so much of my life chasing younger. Wanting to look like I used to. Wanting to erase the years like they were mistakes. But Evelyn, she didn't want to look like her past self. She wanted to honor the woman she had become. And that, more than any product or ritual, is what made her beautiful. In the days that followed, I found myself creating my own gentle rituals. I sat quietly by the window. I wrote little thank you notes to my reflection, even if they were just whispered in the steam of the mirror. I spoke more kindly to myself, especially on the hard days. I didn't become younger. But I became softer. I became lighter. I began to glow, not with perfection, but with peace. And that is the kind of beauty that doesn't fade with time. It deepens. It settles in your bones and shows in your eyes. It makes strangers wonder what your secret is, even if you don't say a word. If you've ever felt like you're too old to begin again, I want to remind you of Evelyn. A woman who never wore moisturizer, never bought into trends, never rushed to erase her lines, because she was too busy living a life that made her shine from within. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not invisible. You are still here. And that matters. So start small. Start soft. Run warm water across your face and say thank you. Let the morning light touch your skin before any mirror does. Whisper something kind to the woman looking back at you. Because she is still becoming. She is still learning. She is still beautiful. And this very day, can still be the beginning of her most radiant chapter yet.